Hey guys, I'm EthAnswers from Stockholm Supply, and today I want to talk about the Flatmaster and how you set it up in your shop. A lot of guys like to set the Flatmaster up right as a table saw wing, like I have it here, or on the outfeed of the table saw, and that's an awesome place to put it because obviously it's got a nice flat table, and because the drum is set below the table, even as a wing here, if I take the sandpaper off, this drum's never going to interfere with wood being pushed through either the table saw or the sander, which is really, really cool. Now, the one thing to consider that's always been a bit of an issue when you want to set up either as an outfeed or as a wing here is the way the fences attach. Now, if you look here, you can see how that fence, all the attachment hardware is right here. So to move the fence and slide it back and forth, I have to loosen it there and lock it back up. And that means I can't really get it very close to where the table saw sits. Now, there is a workaround for this that I want to show you guys, that you can use a lot of the hardware that came with the machine with some pretty simple modifications. I just want to show how you can set this fence up so you can sit the table flush right beside or right behind the table saw. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to leave this upper part here installed, but what we're going to do is remove the bottom. So let me take the fence all the way off here, and we'll quickly take this apart. So we're just going to remove the lower bracket here, because we won't actually be using that. Okay. Okay, so we can put this hardware aside for now. We're not going to need it. So what this will look like, we slide this back on. It'll look just flat like that. Now what we're going to do, I have a piece of T-track, a mini T-track they call that, attached to a 3/4 square piece of wood. I'm actually going to mount that to the back of my Flatmaster table, right in that position, and we're going to adjust this bracket so with a knob I can slide this fence and tighten it right from the top. So first let me go ahead and attach this, and I'll show you how to set that up. Okay, so you see I've got this T-track attached on the front here, just that angle iron that's in the front of that Flatmaster table. Now this T-track I will link in the description on where you can find that. Now the fence, I'll pull it off here so you can see. What I've done is I have a, that's actually a carriage bolt that I've done some fancy grinding. Let me grab one here so you can see what they look like originally. So I had a head like that right there. But what I've done is I brought that over to the grinder and I've ground that head just a little bit smaller so that it would fit nicely in that track. So, excuse me. This fence will slide on here, just like that, and it'll slide the length of the Flatmaster table. And to tighten it, one other thing I should note, I had to use a fairly long carriage bolt here, and I have put some 3/8 nuts. That's the next size up from the 5/16, just because the size of this knob wouldn't fit down into that fence bracket, so that's just raising it up so that I can tighten it without interfering with anything there. So now that I have everything set up like this, there's nothing interfering on the front. I've actually cut a small piece of my wood out to avoid my fence rail on my table saw here. But I can push this right up against my table saw, right flush, and still have total access to my fences on both my table saw and my Flatmaster. So obviously when I'm using the table saw, I will have to pull the fence off my Flatmaster, and then also if I'm using my table saw on sanding a long piece with my Flatmaster, I would have to pull the fence off of it as well. So let me take the fence off here and I'll make a cut with my table saw and you can kind of see how this works. So yeah, having that Flatmaster on the wing of your saw works really, really nicely, but also works really nicely as the outfeed. So if you're looking at where to put your Flatmaster in your shop, next to your table saw is a really good option.